Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another Wrestling Skull podcast presentation of the Wrestling Arts. What are we up to now? Episode 4. And of course, joining myself, John Scott, as always, my co-host Matt Essex. Matt, how are you? And are you ready to go back and back into the time machine and look at more classic moments in the wrestling timeline?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Yeah, should be a good one this time. In colour this time as well.
Yeah, we're going to start in colour. So, ladies and gentlemen, the first match we're taking. This was actually. We mentioned this. Go back to my notes. We had an email in for this. Here we are. This was from Ricky in Edinburgh. Okay, and he recommended this match. This is he suggested this because he'd heard about it, so he wanted to get it on here, and then he was actually going to watch it for the first time. He's put in his email anyway. I don't know if he would have got the urge before then, but thank you nonetheless for this recommendation. And what we have here is Carlos Colon, who is the father, of course, of Carlito and Primo and all the rest of it, and of course he was the big time promoter in Puerto Rico that many people will recognise him, up against Abdullah the Butcher in what was called a Vengeance match in 1986 in Puerto Rico itself. Matt, how familiar are you with either of these two guys?
I've seen Abdullah the Butcher a few times. I can't say I've seen too much of Carlos Colon, though.
Fair enough. Well, for those people that are probably maybe tuning into sort of wrestling in Puerto Rico for the first time, Puerto Rico was and still is, in a lot of respects, a big place for professional wrestling. To say it was, I think even Brett said it himself. It's a bit of an experience in general. The whole atmosphere. The crowd can be extremely intense during wrestling matches. Take it from me when I've ever watched these. But we have what was considered Carlos Colon's big rival in Puerto Rico. It was considered his kind of massive rival was Abdullah the Butcher, and this is just one of those matches that they had back then. And this led on to other matches that we are actually going to cover in our Wrestling Arts. In fact, on our next one, we're going to have both Carlos Colon and Abdullah the Butcher up against Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen from around the same time. So yeah, I think you're definitely gonna want to tune into those ones. But Matt, are you ready to go? And everyone at home, we're going to count us in so you guys can join us watching this match. Again, you can get this on YouTube. Just type in Carlos Colon versus Abdullah the Butcher. You're looking for Vengeance match 1986. We're going to give the countdown 3, 2, 1, and we're off. So yes, here we are, and we're back in colour, Matt, from our last episode.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get an entrance here, which is so. Just trying to look. Is it 1982? It says here. Hang on a minute. Wondering what's going on. What's what here? I have no idea of the actual proper. I might have to look that up on Wikipedia, folks, because I want to find that out. But or that might have been for something else, I'm sure. But there is Carlos Colon, of course, father of Carlito, and he got inducted quite recently as well, Matt. I believe Carlos Colon a couple of years ago, I believe, and Abdullah the Butcher is also in the WWE Hall of Fame as well. And the way he's coming out there, Matt, looks already quite a sight, doesn't it? Abdullah the Butcher. When you come out like that, crikey. And now you notice the amount of security around these guys. That is because back then they would have all sorts thrown over. I'm talking about urine. I mean, like, fans took this quite to heart. If they didn't like you, they were gonna tell you about it. You'd have glass bottles being smashed over wrestlers. I mean, there were so many stories, riots, all kinds of things, Matt. So you had to be very careful about going to Puerto Rico and and wrestling. That's for sure. So you really had to have that kind of security, even though I don't think even the security would be able to keep out of most of this going on.
No.
But yeah, this was considered the Vengeance match at the time, and like I say, they had a very heated, storied rivalry, these two. And I'm interested to see more of Carlos Colon, because again, he's somebody I've probably only watched like once or twice, but certainly not in this kind of a match. I'm interested to see him. But Abdullah the Butcher, Matt, now he's kind of iconic in a lot of ways. He's not in sort of the WWE sense, but he's an iconic kind of wrestler he's only been retired not that long ago. In fact, so he was working on the Indies for so long, but he's certainly one of those names that you do hear about quite a lot as a sort of like a legendary big guy back then. And I know we've done on our countdowns, Magnificent Sevens, we had like the best of the big guys, like monster guys. He probably would be considered one of them. I'm not sure we had him in our lists, but he would be considered one of those guys, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's like the original kind of monster big guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
They always brought him out in kind of brutal matches as well. Most of the matches I remember with this guy, they were sort of gimmicky and they did involve a lot of violence.
Yeah. I think that was his thing. I mean, I've never seen a shot of him without him bleeding either. In a match, that was definitely, when you think of Abdullah the Butcher, you think of violence with this guy. For sure. So, I mean, in a lot of ways, whether this is 1982 or 1986, Matt, we're in a different time zone. I mean, to where we normally are. This might have been our most recent one, in fact, that we've covered so far. But again, we're in a territory where people are probably not that familiar with, which is Puerto Rico. But like I say, Puerto Rico was massive for its wrestling, and still very much is. But like I say, it was a very dodgy place to want to go and perform some of the times, because you just had to be careful. I'm not sure what happened just then, but even that looked like something iffy was going on, where everyone was getting riled up. So yeah, lots of and it's quite a big. You look at the stadium in this; it's quite big as well. Like, there's quite a lot of people watching this, an outside kind of stadium at the time. As we see Carlos Colon, now he looks like he's already going to be like trying to open him up on those already sore wounds, I would imagine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if I did see him bleed.
Yeah.
I can say that.
I think we're going to get to that, I would imagine. I would be very shocked as well if we didn't see something like that during this match. So, but it's interesting because we like taking lots of different matches, and this one certainly is very much going to be out there, considering we've got a huge wave now going on. I think just randomly the camera turns to the crowd, getting a wave in. I'm sorry, I was about, but pretty entertaining. Like I say, lots of workers back in, like I was saying with Brett, they all kind of had a small stint in Puerto Rico, including Flair, at some time. But Carlos Colon is the main guy. I mean, he was the promoter, the wrestler. So he would have been like treated like almost as if he was like a president almost. Like this guy was definitely the man of Puerto Rico, for sure. Back then, and of course, he would have second generation stars as well, Matt. That probably most people are familiar with. Was you a fan of Carlito, Matt, when he was in WWE? When he had his run, was you?
I actually was.
Yeah.
When he turned up, I felt like it was the first time in a long time that they had introduced a very gimmicky character that was very unique. And actually entertaining, because it was going through a horrible time at that time when they were bringing in all these kind of different gimmicks and they were all failing. But they bring in Carlito and instant credibility, the feud he had with John Cena and everything. It was all gold, I just don't know where it all went wrong in the end, because I think these days, if they brought Carlito back, he could instantly just walk straight back in. I don't think he'd have to go through NXT or anything like that. I think he's of that caliber, you know. And if they've got like the shining stars and that there, it just would make so much sense to have someone like him there now.
Yeah, I was a bit of a fan of Carlito. I mean, I think he was underestimated on the mic as well. I don't think he got enough props. He done pretty well. I remember him doing a WrestleMania 21 in Piper's Pit with Austin and Piper at the time, and it was quite funny and all that. And yeah, I like the character, and I think he was underestimated as a wrestler because I think he could definitely go. And years after he was in WWE, I saw him in the UK on an indie match, and when I saw him up close, you know, you got to see just how good this guy was. Bloody hell, what is that he's using? Christ.
Well, we knew it'd take long.
And these fans definitely want the blood, that's for sure. They're begging for it. Now we talk about the audience. There's probably not going to be too many kids in this one, Matt.
No, I would imagine it's best keeping the kids at home on this. Cool, but it's horrible, isn't it?
I think this is. I'm not sure if this is why he recommended it or not, but this is quite. This is definitely a violent match that we're going to get here. I can already tell.
I'm not sure if it fits the title for wrestling arts. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's an art, all right. Just of a different kind. I think we're going to get to the end of this. Well, we did say we would take anything and everything, as long as it was sort of a different era, a different promotion, and all the rest of it. So this will be something to its own, no doubt. I can imagine after we get to the end of this. That's for sure, after what we've just been witnessing. But yeah, Carlos Colon, I'm not sure what that was he was using, Matt. I don't know if you know, but it looked brutal, whatever it was.
Like a file or like a bit like a pencil.
Yeah, something sharp.
Like a file or something, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like, forget needing a razor, we're just going to use this. So this is much more of a kind of brawl, kind of just fight, really, that we're seeing here, for sure. I'm not sure we're going to get a catch-as-catch-can wrestling match here, Matt, are we? We're not going to get a 5 stars Lou Thesz match here.
So, like, I'm assuming Abdullah doesn't really just have a wrinkly forehead. I'm guessing that's all scars.
That is, yeah, it's all scars. It reminds me Dusty Rhodes. I mean, if you remember, Dusty Rhodes' forehead was very famous for just having those kind of opened up wounds from all over the years. And same with this guy. This, like I say, I don't ever remember seeing Abdullah the Butcher in a match where he didn't bleed. It was just part of him, I think, in the end. So, you know, I think Carlos Colon was I think he was famously quoted as saying, you know, he feels like he shedded more blood with this guy than anyone else through their rivalry. I mean, these two, Matt, just to put it out there, just how long the rivalry was over almost 2 decades of rivalry between these two guys. So just goes to show you how long this went on for between these two guys. And look at that, Jesus. Just absolutely using whatever this is, you know, it's just using it, and the fans are you know, absolutely loving it. I mean, you can't deny that.
Oh, there's a close up of those. Those scars are really deep as well, aren't they?
Really deep. There's even blood on the camera just then. I don't know if you saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, you know, people they talk about, well, was ECW the first company that started doing all that? Well, obviously not. You look at this. I think go back and look at some old Puerto Rico videos. You might be in for a treat if you like all that kind of stuff, and find out that, you know, all this came from kind of there and sort of other places. But Puerto Rico was well known for not always like this. Like they of course had great wrestlers and all that sort of stuff. But when it come down to rivalries and kind of feud, kind of grudge matches, they were probably one of the first ones that were doing these kind of payoff matches where you just had to go to these levels of violence. But again, we're talking about an audience that was very much of an adult variety, and the culture is completely different from what the US would have been. You know, this was like a place and a time where this would have been, you know, loved. I mean, look at all the fans in the background, Matt. They are